I didn't look up from my mimosa. I'd been waiting for this call for 3 weeks. The Sunday brunch at Mom's Country Club was one of those orchestrated affairs. White tablecloths, fresh flowers, the kind of place where silverware doesn't make noise when it touches the plate. 18 family members were present. Parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, my grandmother. My sister Sarah had chosen the venue carefully. Maximum audience for her triumph. She'd been talking for 20 minutes about the sale. The Waterfront Condo. My waterfront condo, the one Grandma Grace left me when she died 2 years ago, had finally found the right buyers. Sarah slid the closing documents across the table like she was presenting a trophy. The contract showed $625,000. The buyers, a retired couple from Chicago, were already scheduling movers for the following Friday. Sarah had received the earnest money deposit, $62,500. I've already allocated the funds, Sarah announced, pulling out her phone to show a spreadsheet. $20,000 for the new inventory system. $15,000 for the marketing campaign. $10,000 for the website redesign. $5,000 for the trade show booth. Her artisanal soap company. The one that had been launching for 3 years, burning through family loans and credit cards. Mom reached over and squeezed Sarah's hand. We're so proud of you for being resourceful. Dad nodded, finally putting that property to good use. My phone buzzed in my purse. I knew who it was without looking. I excused myself to the restroom, walking past the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the golf course. The air conditioning hit sharp and cold after the warm dining room. The voicemail was from Patricia Morrison, senior fraud investigator at Coastal Title and Escrow. Her voice was professional, clipped, the kind of tone that suggested she'd made this type of call many times before. Miss Chin, this is Patricia Morrison from Coastal Title and Escrow's Fraud Division. We've identified your property at 2847 Harborview Drive as subject to unauthorized conveyance. The deed holder of record does not match the individual attempting to execute the sale. All escrow funds have been frozen immediately pending investigation. Please have your attorney contact our legal department at the number below. This transaction has been flagged for potential real estate fraud and will be reported to the appropriate authorities. I saved the voicemail. Then I returned to the table. Sarah was showing Aunt Linda photos of soap packaging. The rebrand is going to position us as luxury wellness. Think Aesop meets Goop. The waterfront condo sale gives us the runway to finally scale. I sat down and picked up my fork. The eggs Benedict had gone cold, but I took a bite anyway. Hollandaise sauce coated my tongue rich and heavy. Sarah, I said quietly, who signed the closing documents? She didn't even look up from her phone. I did, obviously. Someone had to handle it. And the deed? I asked. Who's listed as the owner on the deed? Both of us, she said quickly. Too quickly. Grandma left it to both of us. That's when I knew she'd convinced herself of the lie. For 3 years she'd been telling herself that Grandma's will somehow included her name. That the waterfront condo, the one-bedroom unit with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor, the place where Grandma and I spent every Saturday morning drinking coffee and watching sailboats, was partially hers. The deed lists me as sole owner, I said. My voice stayed level. Grandma's will was very specific. You received the lake cottage and $50,000. I received the waterfront condo. Sarah's face tightened, that little jaw clench she does when she's been caught but isn't ready to admit it yet. Mom and Dad said we should share it. I looked at my parents. Mom was staring at her plate. Dad was refilling his water glass with intense concentration. You knew, I said to them. Not a question. It seemed fair, Mom said finally. You already have a good job, a nice apartment. Sarah's trying to build something. Grandma would have wanted us to support each other. There was the gambler's fallacy of family dynamics. If we just give Sarah one more chance, one more infusion of capital, one more mulligan on responsibility, she'll finally become the success story we can brag about. Never mind that each previous investment had evaporated into vague business expenses and lifestyle inflation. My grandmother had been the first person to teach me about money. Not how to make it, how to respect it. She'd grown up during the Depression, worked as a bookkeeper for 40 years, saved everything, invested carefully. She bought the Waterfront Condo in 1987 for $89,000 and watched it appreciate to $625,000. Every Saturday morning she'd make coffee in that tiny kitchen and we'd review her investment statements together. Financial independence, she told me when I was 16, means you never have to compromise yourself for security. Build your fortress first, then decide who you let inside. She'd left me the condo because she knew I understood. Not because I needed it. I was a senior software engineer at a medical device company pulling $145,000 annually, but because she trusted me to preserve what she'd built. Sarah had never joined those Saturday mornings. She'd been too busy with friends, parties, the endless social maintenance that came before responsibility. The title company called, I said. I set my phone on the table and played the voicemail on speaker. Patricia Morrison's voice filled the silence. All escrow funds have been frozen immediately pending investigation. Potential real estate fraud. Reported to appropriate authorities. Sarah went pale. The closing documents slipped from her hand and scattered across the white tablecloth. That's a mistake, she said. Her voice cracked on the word mistake. I'll call them. There's been a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, I said. You forged my signature on a deed transfer. You attempted to sell property you don't own. The title company's fraud division flagged it because my name is on every single document. The original deed, the property tax records, the HOA membership, the insurance policy. Uncle James, a real estate attorney, leaned forward. Sarah, did you actually forge her signature? I thought we owned it together, Sarah said. But her eyes were darting now, looking for an exit that didn't exist. Mom and Dad said. What Mom and Dad said doesn't change the legal deed, Uncle James said. His voice had shifted from family gathering pleasant to attorney taking deposition. Did you sign your sister's name on any documents? Silence. The power of attorney, Cousin Rebecca said suddenly. She was an accountant, always the one who remembered details. Remember? 2 years ago, after Grandma's funeral, Sarah said she needed Michelle to sign a power of attorney for estate administration. Was that real? I'd signed it. 1 week after Grandma's funeral, exhausted from grief and funeral planning and family logistics. Sarah had brought papers to my apartment, explained that the estate needed multiple signatures for various accounts and properties, that a limited power of attorney would make everything easier. The document had been notarized. I'd barely read it. I trusted my sister. The power of attorney was for estate administration, I said. It expired 6 months after probate closed. That was 18 months ago. Uncle James pulled out his phone. I'm texting my paralegal. If she used an expired power of attorney to forge a conveyance, that's criminal fraud. The DA's office prosecutes these cases aggressively because it's often tied to elder abuse and exploitation. I didn't exploit anyone, Sarah protested. Grandma was already dead. You exploited Michelle, Aunt Linda said quietly. You exploited her trust. The table had gone silent. 17 faces were turned toward Sarah now. My cousin Emma's children, ages 6 and 8, sensed the tension and stopped coloring. Even the waiter approaching our table veered away without taking drink orders. I pulled out my own phone and opened my email. I've been documenting everything, I said. I began reading aloud, letting each email serve as its own small revelation, its own microclimax. March 15th, email from you requesting access to the condo for maintenance inspection. I said no because the HOA handles maintenance. April 2nd, email from you asking if I'd consider selling. I said no. April 18th, text message saying you'd found a buyer willing to pay fair market value. I responded that the property isn't for sale. May 1st, email from you with a purchase agreement attached, asking me to just look it over. I responded that I'm not selling and please stop asking. I scrolled further. May 10th. You texted Mom asking her to talk sense into Michelle about the condo. May 15th. You posted in the family group chat that you'd finally found a solution to the condo situation. I responded, what situation? It's not for sale. May 22nd. You sent me a Zillow listing for the condo. I called you. You said it was just a test to see what it might appraise for. The listing went live the next day. Sarah's hands were shaking now. She picked up her water glass, set it down without drinking. May 29th, I continued. I received a call from a buyer's agent asking about showing availability. That's when I contacted the title company directly and spoke with Patricia Morrison. I explained the situation. She opened an investigation file and flagged the property in their system. June 3rd. You signed the purchase agreement without my knowledge or consent. June 5th. Earnest money deposited. June 10th. Title company's fraud division contacted my attorney. Yesterday, you spent $50,000 of the frozen escrow money that you'll now have to return. The math was starting to register on faces around the table. Frozen funds. Fraud investigation. Return the money. Wait, my cousin David said. He was a financial analyst quick with numbers. You spent $50,000 from escrow? Before closing. I thought the sale was going through, Sarah said. Her voice had gone small. The buyer seemed committed. I needed to place the inventory orders before the trade show. That's embezzlement, Uncle James said flatly. You took funds from an escrow account for a transaction you weren't authorized to execute. The buyers can sue you. The title company will definitely sue you. And if the DA decides to prosecute, you're looking at felony fraud and embezzlement charges. Mom was crying now. Dad had his head in his hands. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not anger, not even sadness. Just the cold clarity that comes from watching someone destroy themselves while you stand at a safe distance. This wasn't about revenge. I'd never wanted this confrontation. I'd wanted my sister to be trustworthy. I'd wanted my parents to respect my boundaries. I'd wanted my grandmother's legacy to be preserved the way she'd intended. But when someone decides to steamroll your boundaries, sometimes the only thing you can do is let them hit the wall at full speed. The ghost ledger, I said. I'd been keeping it in a notes app on my phone for 2 years. Not for this moment, I hadn't known this moment was coming, but because I needed to track the cost of being family with people who didn't value me. Every time you called me selfish for not sharing the condo. Cost equals self-doubt, weeks of questioning whether grandma made a mistake choosing me. Every family gathering where you made jokes about me hoarding real estate. Cost equals shame, feeling greedy for respecting a will. Every time mom and dad took your side. Cost equals trust, the foundational belief that my parents would protect my interests. Every time I second-guessed installing that security camera in the condo after you asked for keys. Cost equals peace of mind, the exhausting vigilance of protecting yourself from family. The Saturday mornings with grandma that you never attended but now want to profit from. Cost equals sacred memory turned into commodity. I put my phone away. The balance doesn't zero out. It never does. Patricia Morrison called my attorney 40 minutes later while we were still at the table. The buyers had been informed. They were withdrawing their offer and demanding return of their earnest money plus legal fees. The title company was filing a fraud report with the county recorder's office and the state attorney general's office. Sarah had 3 business days to return the $50,000 she'd spent, or face immediate civil suit and potential criminal prosecution. My attorney, a real estate litigator I'd retained the day I first suspected Sarah's intentions, had already prepared a cease and desist letter, a restraining order application and a criminal complaint. We filed all 3 that afternoon. The procedural justice moved like machinery. Each gear clicked into place with satisfying precision. Within 1 week, Sarah's access to the condo was terminated. The locks were changed. The HOA was notified. A restraining order was granted prohibiting her from coming within 500 feet of the property. Within 2 weeks, the title company's fraud investigation concluded. They filed formal complaints with the State Real Estate Commission and the District Attorney's Office. The buyers filed a civil suit for $72,500 plus legal fees. Within 1 month, Sarah sold her car to partially repay the embezzled funds. He took a second job. Her soap company quietly dissolved. Mom and Dad took out a home equity loan to cover the remaining $28,000 she couldn't repay. Within 3 months, the DA's office declined to prosecute criminally in exchange for full restitution and 5 years of probation for fraud. Sarah pleaded no contest to civil fraud charges. The judgment would appear on her credit report for 7 years. Within 6 months, my parents stopped calling. The extended family split. Some sided with Sarah. Everyone makes mistakes, family should forgive. But most sided with reality. Uncle James, Aunt Linda, Cousin Rebecca and grandmother made it clear. Fraud is fraud even inside a family. I spent Thanksgiving with Uncle James's family. Christmas with Aunt Linda. My birthday with the cousins who understood that trustworthiness matters more than shared DNA. The waterfront condo remained mine. I didn't sell it. Instead, I spent weekends there drinking coffee by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching sailboats, remembering Saturday mornings with Grandma. 1 year after the fraud attempt, I received a letter from Sarah. It was short. I convinced myself I deserved it. That Grandma made a mistake. That you didn't need it. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Sorry doesn't unforge a signature. Sorry doesn't undo the 18 family members who watched her try to steal my inheritance. Sorry doesn't restore the trust required for a relationship. My grandmother used to say, character is what you do when you think no one's watching. Integrity is what you do when everyone's watching and it costs you everything. Sarah failed both tests. I pass the condo every weekend now. The coffee maker is the same one Grandma used. The view hasn't changed. The property value has increased to $680,000. I'll never sell it. Not because I need the money. Because my grandmother built her fortress brick by brick and trusted me to defend it. Some people think family means unconditional access. But my grandmother taught me differently. Family is who shows up for the Saturday mornings. Who respects the boundaries. Who understands that love without trust is just obligation wearing a mask. The title company's fraud division protected my fortress. My attorney reinforced it. My boundaries defended it. And Sarah? She proved exactly why Grandma's will was written the way it was. The people who question your inheritance are usually the ones who would have squandered theirs.